Hello, gang. We're going to do a spirituality 101. It's been ages since we've done one of these. Right, so um, I was asked last night why, in a lot of my content, specifically my channeled psychic readings, why I talk about flow and what is that. And I was trying to think last night before going to bed how I could explain that, and something came to me. Okay, so I'm gonna go through that in a second. So, when you start a spiritual path, specifically when you get past that level one awakening and you realize that you have a greater purpose or role, it's easy to start kind of comparing yourself to other people and where they are and etc. etc. Now, the first thing to brimstone over. The first thing to explain is that although we might have the same destination as other people on that journey, our paths are often different. So don't ever compare yourself to anybody else. Now, I've said this before, when I started on the event circuit, I remember the first couple of events that I did, and I compared myself to other people. I'd look around these halls and think, first off, am I going to fit in here? Because all my branding's black. I'm very openly a witch, and I'm surrounded by purple chakra violet banners and people's big ugly mugs on their on their roller banners. I've got logo. How am I going to fit in? Number two, these other readers, they've got people lining up and fully booked sheets. And I soon realised it's because I am different, and my path is different. And this was before I really started opening up, and I accepted that. I just said, right, I'm here for a different purpose. My client base is different. This is why I say, if you're wanting to get on the event circuit, you might go to events and other readers or healers or whatever have got a full-time sheet. Well, there's two reasons for that. Number one, they've probably been doing it for ages and they've built up a client base. Number two, their people might be there. I'm under no illusions that some places I go, I'm not going to do that well. If I'm going to one of these posh spa type places with Hope and Harmony, I might do all right, cover my costs, make a bit of money, but I don't go in expecting to have a full time sheet. You know, if I go somewhere which is like a sports hall or something along those lines, and it's not quite as grand, I normally do quite well. I do extremely well in Yorkshire because they like my straight talking. So don't ever compare yourself to anybody else. So, what do I mean by flow? Right. So let's imagine we've got two characters, right? For argument's sake, we start off with a chap, right? And his path, he starts first, okay, and he has to walk. He has to walk to his destination. Now, sometime later, we've got a lass, and she's at the start line, and she can see just the dot of this man, up the road, and she goes, "Christ Almighty, how am I gonna catch up with him?" Now she's given a bike, push bike, okay. So she gets on the bike and she starts furiously pedaling, okay, to catch up with the man. And he starts getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And then all of a sudden the chain falls off. So she's got to stop and she's got to fix the chain. And he starts getting smaller again. So she fixes the chain, she gets back on the bike, and again she starts furiously pedaling. And she's getting closer and closer and closer. And then she gets a flat tire. So she's got to get off, she's got to fix the flat tire, she's got to pump it up, and then she gets going again. And again, the man's got a little bit smaller again. Now, what we've got to remember is that yes, the man started sooner, but the man is on foot, and the woman has a bike. So if she pedaled with flow and at a steady rate, she would get to her destination, and it's unlikely that she's going to get as many chain issues. It's unlikely that she's going to get as many punctures. So that is what I mean by flow when it comes through in the readings. Go with the flow. Now, anybody who's been following me for a while knows that round about August last year, I was hit with a lot of frustration when it came to my lives not being pushed out, my content not being pushed out. And because of that, my work started to dry up. And day after day after day, I was getting more and more frustrated. Why isn't it going anywhere? Why isn't the work coming in? Blah, 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 blah. And that frustration just led me to working harder and harder and harder and harder. Now, I'm a believer that you do have to hustle. Sorry, manifestation girlies. I don't believe that you can just manifest whatever you want, because I believe that we're here living the human experience as well, and you have to put the effort in. If you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get what you want. And if you do get what you want without putting the effort in, well, that's black magic. Okay? So I do believe you should work hard and hustle, but it's that old adage, as I say, control the variables. If there's something that you think you can do it. Once you've tried it, if it's still not working, don't keep pushing that same narrative, because it's clearly not working. So after months and months and months of pushing and pushing and pushing and putting out adverts and promotion and trying this, that, and the other, I suddenly went, do you know what, Richard? Let's just sit back. You've had enough evidence in your life now that you know that Source has your back. You know that you're not going to be left out in the street. So let's just chill. Let's go with the flow. Still do your work, still do your content, still put your adverts out there, but don't go hell for leather, because all you're doing is wearing yourself out. And then as soon as I did that, as soon as I remembered who I was, and that, I don't have to constantly be at the grindstone. I'm always be a hard worker. Taurus. The flow came in. Because by getting frustrated and by furiously pedaling, all I was doing was tiring myself out, and the chain kept falling off. So yeah, if you're on a spiritual path and you're fairly new to it, just because there's other people further down the road, number one, they might fork off at some point. Like that. Number two, even if they don't and they're going to the same destination, you have a bike. They've done it on foot. So just go with the flow. Ta-ta.